we'll always clean at the cell level first, and then everything we do works better. You lose fat faster, you gain muscle, at a faster rate. You're able to have that constant energy.
All right, what's up, guys? I am super excited today. I've got a great guest, Douglas D. Grant. He is on a mission similar to mine. He is on a mission to help you achieve optimal health every day. He is known as the formulator, and he's been a team nutritionist for many NBA teams, professional athletes, Olympians over the last 20 years. He's got an amazing brand, and he's the founder of Optimal Health Systems, where he actually formulates programs and therapeutic products and for thousands of doctors all around the world. Welcome, my guest, Douglas D. Grant. Welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, appreciate it. Honored being here. Like that we have some of the same friends and network with Meltzer and them. Great people.
Yeah. I feel so blessed. We were just talking off, about behind the scenes. I was just so blessed to be connected with. It's just funny the way my life works. The more good energy I put out, and I'm sure you know the same thing. It's like I just find myself connecting with like the right people who I'm supposed to be around, and it just continues to reciprocate. It's just amazing. So
No, there's no doubt. I mean, one of the true principles of life that a lot of people don't understand or talk about much is energy, and the energy that exudes from you will attract the same. And that's the only way to truly get success is to start putting out that right energy and letting it flow.
I love that, and we might have to even get into that because just from studying you and some of your work, we're going to definitely get into nutrition and health. But I think and you would say too, a big part of what got you here and what you do is the mindset piece, right?
Oh, it's everything, right? Everything starts with that. We could talk nutrition, exercise, supplements all day long. But the very first principle is the mindset and having that mindset towards health and the right form of health, right? Not just the looks and that, but internally at a cell level. Because at the cell level is actually where everything starts vibrating and then it comes out from there. So 100% mindset, how you set your goals, the focus of those is really the key.
Yeah, awesome stuff. I can't wait to get started. I got all these nutrition questions I want to ask you, but
All
before
right.
we even go there, I'm always just really curious, like how you got here. I mean, ultra successful. You've worked with some of the top people in the game and CEOs and executives, and you get them better. And I'm just curious, like, where were you before you were doing all this? And like, do you remember? Was there a day that you realized, like, this is what I'm going to do in my life? This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it sure was. It was interesting. Kind of goes back to our mindset talk and the importance of that. Basically, I had decided that I wanted to be at the top level I could be for performance. And I wasn't a big guy. So I'm like, oh, where's the edge? Where's the edge growing up? And realized going to school and learning about nutrition and strength training and all these little details that set it apart was really the answer. So luckily, I was kind of heading down that road, trying to find out how can you perform at the top level and be the best athlete and the healthiest as possible. And so that was the mindset, and that's what led me to the things, and to the end result. But to the road that got me there was a lot different than I thought. I just had this end result in mind, but was open to how I got there, and that was really the key. So the simple version was that I was going to school, getting my degree in nutrition, exercise physiology, doing all that. Had an injury that happened, and I was rehabbing from that, and actually paying for my rehab by starting to, train some of the people in the rehab clinic I was a patient of. And all of a sudden, people started wanting to follow the program because I was teaching nutrition, and that's how you recover.
Oh,
The
wow.
exercise, and that what they were doing in the rehab center was actually tearing muscle, and it was the food they ate and the rest they had that determined if it was going to rebuild and strengthen and heal. And so in the center I was working at, people actually started faking being hurt so they could come be a patient to go on the program that I was teaching on the nutrition exercise.
That's
and
hilarious.
and one day, a bulb went off. Well, why don't I just start doing this on my own? And so I opened up a training center called Nutristrength, and we started training people. And it was really different than all the rest of them. If you came there, you had to sign a little paper. We went into your home and cleaned out the white flour and the sugar, and you basically, allowed us to help you with a complete lifestyle change. And from that, some athletes started coming to me and wanted to be trained in the off season. some that were having issues with like liver issues and things. One was an older athlete named Danny Ainge, who played for Boston Celtics and then the Suns. He was a
Yeah.
two-sport pro athlete, right? Baseball and basketball. And he said that he had liver problems. They told him he had a liver of an alcoholic, and he came in, swearing, said, "I'm a blankety blank Mormon. I don't drink and smoke, and yet I have a liver of an alcoholic." He was really mad
Yeah.
because the Western allopathic doctor at the team was having him take a bunch of NSAIDs, ibuprofen. And, I'm like, "How much you taking?" He's like, 20, 30, a day. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, no wonder your liver's messed up." And so we got him cleaned up, put him on the right nutrition program, got him on the right herbs, right milk thistle, and those things, cleaned up his blood work, did the blood work, showed it to him. So it was objective. And he became a fan. So he referred some other people. He referred a guy named Charles Barkley and Dan Marley. And one day, just to jump to the end to answer your question, I got a call, and it was the secretary for the owner of the Phoenix Suns and the Arizona Diamondbacks. His name was Jerry Colangelo, and it was secretary. And he's like, "Hey, Jerry wants to meet with you in his office." And I'm like, "Okay." And then like, "When?" And she's like, "Right now." And I'm like, "Frank." So I go in, intimidating giant office overlooking Phoenix, and I'm from the small town, and I'm tripping out, and he starts off and he says, "Hey, you've been working with some of my players." I'm like, "Yeah, I get great results. I'm wanting to show them the data and stuff." And he's like, "They're not going to pay you anymore to work with them." And I'm like devastated,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
you know, and he's playing with me, and he knew it. And I'm like devastated, thinking, "Man, it's the first time in my life I'm not eating Cheerios for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right? I'm finally, making some money."
Yeah.
And he says, "Because the reason though is because I'm going to pay you. I want you to become the first nutritionist in the NBA, and I'd like you to do that for our teams with the Suns and the Diamondbacks and the time Mercury, their WNBA team." And that's how it started. So I got into the NBA and started working with other teams and with the Suns for a lot of years. And but it was basically just because we help people create more high performance moments, do it data driven, and do it holistically: mindset, nutrition, exercise, supplementation, but do it balanced. And I think when you do that with a data driven program, in other words, you can show results and you have goals and you set, those specific standards, and you reach to meet them, and here it is, we met it, here's the statistics, and let's go to the next. That's really what it's about. Most people don't do that today. They just, do things, and someone tells them they think it works, so they follow it.
Yeah.
It's very subjective.
Okay, a couple of things you mentioned I just want to highlight. One is liver health. I find, with so many clients, and I work with a lot of weight loss clients, and a lot of things I like to do is some type of functional medicine detox to kind of decongest the liver, because I see that as a huge problem for a lot of people. I'm just curious, for you, in all your years of doing it, do you notice any similar trends, or is that a huge problem? Just like with something as simple as NSAIDs, he's got to have all these top doctors and everybody in the game. I mean, his top doctor is telling him to take NSAIDs, right? And that's giving him the problem. But I'm just curious, like, how much do you see that at all? I'm just, in terms of liver health and how the liver transcends into so many other enzymatic functions in the body.
Great question about the liver. 8 out of 10 people, whether they're an athlete or public, male, female, have problems, and we know it data driven. In other words, that's not a subjective answer. It's an objective answer, because we look at ALT, AST, bilirubin. We look at the markers, and everyone's stressed, and they're stressed because of ibuprofen, Tylenol. They're stressed because of prescription drugs. They're stressed just because of stress, and they're not doing things to relieve, balance cortisol levels. And so I'm really big on that. In fact, almost every person I ever work with, we start off and start cleansing the liver and helping with kidney filtration. But
Nice.
it's simple, right? We get them off of the processed foods, the white flour, the carbonation, fried food, just those three things: fried food, white flour, carbonation. And then we'll give the body some herbs, milk thistle, some enzymes to help, digest their food. And the liver cleans up. That's the neat thing, is the body wants to be healthy. All you have to do is give it the right nutrients, quit putting the toxins in, and it'll heal itself. And that's what we do. So absolutely. And you're right. Once people start having a better functioning liver, kidneys, all of a sudden their energy levels go up, their cholesterol levels go down. They don't have brain fog, and it just comes from the filtration system. So absolutely, big part of the program, and kind of one of the secrets, right? A
Yeah.
lot of people work with people and they put them on these programs, and eat this and exercise this way and all that, and they're not getting the results at the speed they need to keep them motivated, to keep them excited.
Yeah.
And so we'll always clean at the cell level first, and then everything we do works better. You lose fat faster, you gain muscle, at a faster rate. You're able to have that constant energy. So
Yeah, amazing, amazing stuff. And then I wanted to ask you too, because you work with like the creme de la creme. You work with the top people, the CEOs, the professional athletes. I mean, these guys are a different breed. Let's face it. Than I'm a high performer too, but these guys are on a different level. They're doing things that not the average. They're pushing their bodies to some
yeah.
extremes. Let's just face that, right? And so I'm just curious. Is there a common thread or anything that you've noticed over time with working with high performers that like, oh, is there just something that always like, oh, I'm not surprised, but like that thing always comes up with these kind of people, these type A high performers?
Yeah, very good question, and it transcends down to everyone too, because I noticed with these athletes and the CEOs that really the only difference is it's like a race car. They're just going at a faster rate, so they break down faster. So we're able to see these trends and then help people like you and I, just trying to be as healthy and fit as we can. But we're not, a professional athlete that gets paid to do that on a daily basis. But yes, the trends are there. We see them constantly. I'll give you a couple of them. One of them that's come up in the last 2.5 years is an extreme deficiency in A-type personalities with vitamin D in the body. Huge. That's for your immune system to be able to keep you from getting depressed. We're just seeing this huge trend going towards certain nutrient deficiencies, and they're the fat soluble nutrients. We know from COVID that type of virus of what it is. We know from the vaccines and those types of things that's why it's being depleted at a high level. So it's taking these people that are usually positive people, and they're having to fight daily to stay positive and to stick with their goals and that. So we're seeing a nutrient deficiency, number one, across the board, that we could trace back, that we'd see that a lot with the athletes and that to begin with. And then the second thing we noticed, you've already hit on a little bit, but it really comes down to just organ health, liver, kidney, those types of things. They wear out sooner. A lot of these people with prescription drugs or alcohol, things like that, if you take any prescription drugs or drink any amount of alcohol at all, then you need to do some cleansing. And we see that across the board. But that's the reason that I think for me and you, it's important to know some of the work you did with the professional athletes is, Jerry Colangelo said, wait, you're getting these results with my players. What about me? And so I said, okay, absolutely. We were able to lower his cholesterol and get more health. And then we got everything done. He did the nutrition, he did the exercise, but then he did the supplementation, the nutrition, but then exercise is like, I don't know if I have enough time. I want him to work out 3 hours a week. Right.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll tell you what, I'll bet my salary, right, that you actually find more hours in the day by taking 3 hours to exercise, right? And I
Wow.
really couldn't afford to give up my salary, but I knew what was going to happen, and so he took me on it, and I asked him, and 8 weeks later, and he says, "Well, I didn't gain 3 hours back." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm in trouble." He goes, "I gained like eight
He's
point
gonna
seven."
fire me for the second time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said, I got like 8.7 or something. He actually had it down that he had more productivity, more hours he could work during the day because his energy levels were up from that. So it was really, really cool to see that. So yeah, we see that across the board. And probably the number one thing is consistency, is people needing to be consistent with something. I'd rather you exercise 20 minutes a day every day than an hour and a half and you get sore and you don't exercise for a week or two or things like that, or follow a good healthy eating plan that maybe has a bite or two of something in it, but you're consistently not having fried food. You're consistently, staying away from the sodas, maybe allowing one every 2 weeks or whatever it takes to be consistent. Consistency is the key.
Okay, that's amazing. I couldn't agree more. How do you instill consistency just personally? What is one of your go-to methods, or how do you get these high perform? And a lot of the high performers, they want to be consistent and they probably have a lot of good frameworks to help them get there. But I agree. I mean, most people I see, and I interviewed Dr. Anna Lemke, who talks about, she has this great book called Dopamine Nation, and
Yeah.
we're in this dopamine abundant state. And that can even lead to this lack of consistency. But so what's one of your tips, or how do you get people? Do you bribe them your salary to always get them to come follow through? Or what's something that you would say that you've
It's
seen that work?
basically to get more high performance moments, get little wins, right? And once you have a high performance moment, and we all have them during the day, we're in the zone, we're making good decisions, we're happier with people, we communicate better, whatever it is for you, a high performance moment is. And so what I do is say, look, let's get a few more of those. And you'll know it. You'll be able to look back and say, yeah, I'm having, more wins during the day, more energy, more high performance moments. And we do that through habits. And so, what habit can we work with today and make a change that you can be consistent with? And I'd like you to give me 63 days. So, in other words, just over a couple months. For example, can we go off of sodas, carbonation for 63 days? And each day, mark it off that you accomplished it. If so, awesome. Can we add a few more to that so that we can give it even faster results? Can we have no fried food, carbonation, no white flour? Can you commit to, have a salad a day? So some positive, not just takeaways, these things. And so what I'll do is work with people to say, look, what can we commit to for a period of time to help create a new habit? You can see the wins, you'll see more high performance moments, and then we'll take it from there, a step at a time. And some people are already all in and they can do a whole bunch of stuff. Others, we work with and we're like, hey, we do the blood work, just take your vitamins. Your vitamins are going to give you some more wins. And then we go from there with it. So it all depends on the person. Try to get a feel for them. And it comes down to their commitment. How committed are they to get to the next level of health? And whatever that commitment level is, that always will let us know how many things we can work on. If we go on a full program immediately or a little bit at a time. But it just comes down to your craving. What do you crave the most? And if you crave optimal health, you're going to do what it takes.
Love that. Okay, that's amazing. I wanted to ask you too, kind of what makes what you do a little bit different than maybe somebody else at Optimal Health Systems. And I know one of the things that you guys do is blood work. So I don't know if you want to talk about that and why you're so bullish on blood work. I've talked to many people. Some people highly believe in blood work, and other people are like, yeah, it's okay. I'd rather use saliva for an example. So yeah, I'm just curious some of the unique things that you guys are doing differently.
Well, it comes down to data. The bottom line is, especially now in the world, there's so many gurus, so many formulators, there's so many, people that give themselves these titles and different things. And who do you believe? And so I don't want to be one of those people to convince anyone to believe me at all. And the way to go about that is to give you data. And the best data in the world is to find something that's universally accepted. And when I started working for the teams, I realized real quick that I had to work with 10 or 12 other people. So we had a chief surgeon, right? We had a chiropractor, we had a chief medical doctor, we had the athletic trainers, you had the nutritionists, you had the strength coaches, you had all these people. We all had to agree to a point before we could do something with an athlete. So that limited what I could do. And I thought, well, what universally can I bring to the table to show why they need to eat healthier, why they need to exercise, why they need to take these supplements, right? Not everyone's, the medical doctors, what do you mean supplements? They're against supplements. And I'm like, yeah, don't believe me. I don't care. Let's look at the blood. They're low vitamin D. I'm going to give them vitamin D. It's going to come up. What you did didn't have it come up, right? What you did was hurting the liver. What I gave them improved the liver. So it is what it is. So the answer to your question is universally accepted blood work. So one is universally accepted. Number two, it's the life of it. Basically, it's a river of life. Is your health depends on the nutrients in your blood being sent to the tissues and those red blood cells to be able to take the toxins away. If they don't do that, you die. And how well they do that determines your health. So I'm real big on blood because it allows us to be objective. You don't have to believe me. And truly, it is the key to life. And so we do the blood work, but you think, well, not everyone can afford or do or have access to. Well, that's why, we are in the position we are. And what we do is basically we can order blood work for anyone in the world. They get it done. And then we analyze it and we create a supplement protocol based on their blood so that they just take the supplements based on their blood. Now, if they want to go a step further and get, their nutrition lined out, their exercise lined out, they can do that too, or they have someone else that does that, however they want to go about it. But I'm really, really big on objective work. And that's why your friend, David Meltzer, a lot of Russell Brunson, a lot of these high-end CEOs and speakers that get hit up by everyone, do our program. That's why they're with us, is because they don't have to believe me. And we're just like, hey, let the data prove. I had one of the big CEOs just a few months ago. I did his blood work and a couple markers were off, and I looked at his program. I'm like, look, these markers shouldn't be off. why is this liver under stress? Why is this other thing happening? And he said, well, I started taking this other supplement that a friend of mine on this company gave, and I looked at it and it was full of this thing called kava kava and a few things that if you take too much affect the liver.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, look, and so he went off it and the numbers improved. And he's like, hey, I'm with you for life, because that was a great testament, right? The blood doesn't lie. The blood doesn't lie. And so I'm a big fan of that. I'd recommend to everyone, look, go get your blood work done. You'll know your risk of disease. You'll see if something's coming up, so that, you can make adjustments to your lifestyle before a big disease happens, and you can see what you're deficient in. Do you truly need vitamins? Do you need nutrients? And you'll see, yeah, you probably do.
Douglas, I mean, besides just the data, I mean, I'm a big believer in results, and I don't actually even care about the data. I care about the results. You get great results, and your clients love you, and they keep coming back to work with you. So, I think beyond the data, like, your results speak for themselves.
No,
So that's
and I
awesome.
really appreciate that, true, because I get caught up a lot in what we're talking about with the data and that, but people don't want data. They don't care that their number of their on their liver score improved. They don't care their cholesterol went down. They really don't care about the number, right? They care they have more energy, they're reducing body fat, they're pain free. It's just to get there, we have this path, and that path is to track the data so that we know we're heading the right
For
way.
sure. Yep.
But you're right. It's the result. If we didn't get the result, if we didn't get, we got 7 out of my 10 years in the NBA, we had 7 world championships. And so the teams I worked with. So if we didn't get those results, it would have been fired. Like data, we don't care about the data. We're not getting the results, right?
Yeah.
And so they need more high performance moments. And I know our time's limited, but I use an acronym, and maybe this will be helpful for your audience. I use an acronym to make sure you stay balanced. And the acronym is FITNESS. So if your audience will write the word fitness down, F.I.T.N.E.S.S, the F.I.T. of fitness stands for focused, intense thought. I knew you were legit when you led the program off with mindset, most important. Focused, intense thought. What are you focusing in on? Is it a true, proper goal? How committed to it? How much do you crave it? And that's number one. The N of fitness stands for nutrition. That's the second most important thing. The food you put in your body, besides your mindset, is absolutely the most important thing you can do. Making sure you're staying away from processed foods, obey the laws of nature. Just the creator made it perfect. Be smart about it. We can get in details about macros and all that stuff, but good heavens, get off there's no white flour plant, there's no red licorice plant, there's no carbonation, stream. Get off the processed crap, right? Simple nutrition. So focus, intense thought, nutrition. The E of fitness is exercise. Exercise consistently, however long it is, be consistent every day, right? 20 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, whatever you can do, but be consistent. Move the body. And we can get detailed with it too, right? Reps, sets, whether we're doing compound movements, whatever it might be, all that can be detailed. And then the SS is specific supplementation. I'm really big into supplementation, but it's last. It's mindset, nutrition, exercise, and supplement, but specific. Do your blood work, find out what you need, take the supplements you need. Don't take just everything in the world. Don't be subjective about it, be objective about it, and be able to get the nutrients you need to be able to perform at a high level. So follow the fitness acronym. That'll keep you balanced, right, in life, be able to help reach your goals, be able to reach optimal health. And that's really the key.
That's amazing. I wish I had come up with that. That's beautiful. I love though how you had, supplements last, because I think you're right. And some people would say, "Oh, well, of course you're going to recommend supplements. You have a supplement company." But you that's dead last. Like, everything else has to be in line first, that foundation. And if you don't have that, a supplement is, like you said, it's to supplement what you don't have. So not everybody needs to be on this overabundance of supplements. So that's really beautiful. I wanted to ask you too. So when you do the blood work and you're curating these supplements, for example, like someone's deficient, and you don't just say, "Hey, here's a multivitamin." You actually will curate in your lab the specific like ratios of what they need. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So, for example, we do the blood work, and then from the blood work, we have in our facility here, we have special machines. So all the formulas that I make for the doctors around the nation, there's like 75 different formulas. We'll take, and we'd have an algorithm that we put into our equipment. We have special machines that will take, well, let's say you were your thyroid, your numbers were too high, so you're hypothyroid, you needed iodine. Let's say your liver, needs some of the milk thistle, your cholesterol, you need to lower the cholesterol. We'll take that data and all that information goes into our machine, and it spits out into little packs exactly what you need. So instead of taking 7 or 8 bottles of product, you have this little pack here that you take, and that's it. And
That's
it comes
amazing.
in a box. So you just take that pack and you take it morning and night and you're done, instead of all these different bottles and everything else. And we actually made that because hope some of the professional athletes aren't listening, but they're mainly prima donnas. And so I did the blood work and I lay out these 6 or 7 supplements and like, oh, there's too many to take and I can't travel with it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so luckily it was a blessing because we were able to help create these machines that all the supplements go in, and they put everything into a pack, but only what you need based on blood work or, us analyzing and doing that. So you're absolutely right. Only what they need, the specific amounts, and then you track it. I recommend everyone do blood work at least twice a year. Just do it twice a year. That way, if you have anything come up, you'll know your risk. You'll know something before it gets too major, and you can make sure that your nutrients are working, that you're anabolic, you're burning fat. That you're just basically doing everything at the top level, so you can have more high performance moments, more energy, more vitality.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, question for you, because many doctors, and you had brought this up, in the past, that you've had to work with other doctors and they might poo-poo on you saying, hey, I think this guy needs some supplements, he needs some vitamins. There's always a lot of debate, and doctors will say, you don't need vitamins, that's just wasted expensive pee,
Expensive urine, yep.
expensive urine. So what are your thoughts? Do we need vitamins, and if so, why?
Yeah, so my thoughts don't matter, but the research does. Even the American Medical Association, I still have medical doctors will say that once in a while. And I'm like, can we go to your own data? The American Medical Association over 15 years ago came out and said every single American should take a multivitamin because the research is so overwhelming. So any doctor that says that doesn't even read their own data. That's one thing that gets me going once in a while. So I'll just give them their own research from their own organization.
Beautiful.
And then the other thing that they're right about is that many times supplements do just create expensive urine because most supplements are synthetic. And what I mean by that is that they're made in the lab. Many years ago in the 90s, they tried to make where supplements are only available to doctors. And they didn't realize the grassroots movement of us holistic people, and they were defeated. And so what happened is the pharmaceutical companies got smart. So they went out and said, well, if we can't beat them, let's buy them. And so they started buying up all the supplement companies. And today, well over 90% of the supplement companies are owned by pharmaceutical companies. So,
Wow.
like if you name someone, what's popular? Centrum, right? Everyone knows Centrum. Well, Centrum's owned by Pfizer, right? Pfizer bought them out. So that's it. You go right down the road of almost every supplement company, and they're owned by a pharmaceutical company. And pharmaceutical companies don't know how to formulate based on foods because foods change, right? The organic, you have to worry about bacteria and fermentation and all those things. They only know chemicals and drugs. And so what they've done is they've convinced the public that there's no difference between synthetic vitamins and whole food vitamins. A synthetic vitamin is one you make using chemicals in the lab. So the simplest answer to help everyone understand is ascorbic acid. If I said, what's ascorbic acid? Most people will say, well, it's vitamin C. Well, it's not vitamin C. It's just that we've been programmed to think that. Ascorbic acid is a fraction of vitamin C. You need rutin. A lot of people heard rutin, bioflavonoids, J and K factor. Those all make up vitamin C. But what pharmaceutical companies do is they'll take hydrochloric acid and corn syrup, and you can look this up if you want. Hydrochloric acid and corn syrup, and they'll mix them together. They go through a 12-step process, and that makes ascorbic acid. So all the ascorbic acid or the vitamin C is that you're buying from the store is corn syrup and hydrochloric acid mixed together. And that's obviously not healthy. And so some of the studies will be like, well, it didn't do much for your body. Look at this study. Look at this study. Yeah, because they're using synthetic vitamins and they're crap. But if you look at the studies on foods, if you look at the studies of vitamin C from oranges and acerola cherries and vitamin D from mushrooms and all of these things, food-based vitamins, in every study, they improved health dramatically. Look at the largest study ever performed, the F.I.T.N.E.S.S study, and that they're showing with the fruits and the vegetables and the nutrients from them, the benefit. So the answer to the question is one, if a medical doctor tells you shouldn't take vitamins, they need to read their own research. Number two, you need to make sure that the vitamins are whole food based. That just ask, look at the label. It should say it's whole food culture or the vitamin comes from a food. Vitamin A, right, should come from sweet potatoes or oranges. Vitamin C from acerola cherry or oranges, right? Makes sense. And just make sure, because all we're doing is we're taking the vitamins from the foods that are deficient in a lot of the foods now, and fermenting them and putting them in a capsule so that you can get them if you're not getting them in your diet.
Mhm.
And we know if you're getting them in your diet by doing the blood work. And then you know if they work by the numbers going up. So that way it's objective. But now the world's a mess right now because the medical community and the pharmaceutical communities out to get just to make money, as we've seen with the pandemic. And we have to be really careful. But just think of nature, obey the laws of nature, be true to yourself. Your innate self will tell you that, hey, you know what? 9 out of 10 people take vitamins. Why? Because they innately know they're probably not getting it from their food, but they need
Yeah.
to go a step further and make sure it's whole food and make sure they take what they need.
So funny too what you said about the pharmaceutical. I didn't realize I don't take Centrum. I usually take some high, functional medicine brand of quality products. So I stopped taking stuff like that for a long time. So I didn't realize that. But speaking of the pandemic, just recently, and this, they tried to take NAC, which was a popular supplement that helped, as a precursor to glutathione, and they tried to take that off the market for during a time I don't know if it was the height of the pandemic, but it was a time when people could use an immune boost, and it was like they were trying to control it, so only doctors could recommend it and give it to you, and then that slowly went away. So it's really interesting what you said. It's you got to know your history because I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, it's a big. The history is so huge in the industry with that, and you gotta. It's a bummer when we go to conferences now in the 90s, early 2000s, and go to these conferences twice a year as formulators will get together, and that's why I say it's a small group of true formulators that do whole foods, and we get together, and it was like even though we had separate companies, we all had one mission and would help each other, and we get along. And now those conferences everyone's smoking and drinking and everyone's dog eat dog. And I don't want to share information because, that company, it's all about the mighty dollar. And there's a few of us that sit over in the corner as old school organic chemists and that will get together. So the world has changed, and it's a little bit of a bummer for the public. But again, just trust your innate intelligence, your energy, know that nature created it perfect. And then get with people that believe the same as you. And if you do that, then you can get a good coach to help you nutritionally and with the things that you need.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I love that. All right, speaking of supplements, are there a top 5 or anything? I mean, and I know that's tough to ask someone like you that question because you believe in that specificity, and I couldn't agree more. But just in general, maybe you can say, hey, on average, like, 80-90% of people I see, they're usually deficient in this, and you're probably going to need these top 3 or 5 supplements. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great question. People don't always ask that. And absolutely, because we've been doing it so long, we see what, as you'd mentioned, most people do need. And so, number one are digestive enzymes. Number one, like if I can only have one supplement on the planet, it would be plant digestive enzymes. Why? Because you want to get more nutrients from the food. The whole idea here is to get nutrients from the food. Try to eat as healthy food as you can and then digest that food. So, a good plant enzyme supplement, you can just look at the digestive enzymes, make sure it's plant based. The names on there will be like protease, digest protein, lipase, digest fat, lipose, right? Things like that. So, digestive plant enzymes, number one by far. And then number two would be vitamin D, and that's probably moved up because of the pandemic. A big fan of vitamin D in the body. The third would be B for energy. Make sure you have the B vitamins in the system. I'm gonna classify the fourth as minerals, just all minerals, right? Iron, calcium, and that to make sure you have a good mineral supplement. And then I'll probably surprise you a little bit on this last one. I'm actually a big fan of something called creatine. And
Wow.
and creatine isn't just to help your body stay anabolic. In other words, keep muscle, which is critical. As you age, you've got to keep muscle. You don't want sarcopenia where your body loses muscle and you lose shape, and you get all kinds of diseases when you lose muscle. But creatine, as you'll see the research coming out now, is a nutrient that not only helps the body have muscle, but it methylates. In other words, it helps bind to some of these synthetic vitamins and to things that we're bringing into our body, and it'll help bind with them to make them organic to actually help them be utilized in the body. And so it's not getting enough credit because it's mainly in the sports world, right? It's the number one sports nutrient on the planet. But creatine does a lot more than just help the body build muscle. It helps with cognitive function, your brain, be able to ward off Alzheimer's, dementia, and all that. So maybe that's a surprise one to you a little bit. But that'd be my order.
I love that. Yeah, you blew my mind. I mean, I was actually extremely surprised you said digestive enzymes. I always think of, I mean, I think, sure, if you have bloating, and I'm thinking of clients that have digestive issues, but for you to say that, like, yeah, but then I was thinking about it as you were saying this, how many people are stressed? And therefore, their digestion is probably not working optimally. They're not absorbing everything because they're stressed. Everyone's in a stress state. And so you blew my mind actually with the first one. And creatine, I never think about that, but you're right. It's a neurotropic. I didn't realize about the methylation that it does, but I've been reading more about how it's a neurotropic and really actually healthy for the brain, as well as the muscle building that we all know about. But I wasn't aware of the methylation process that you're talking about. So you did blow my mind. Thank you.
Yeah. There's some nutrients out there that have a lot of methyl donors in them that are really big on our radar because of the research now. And creatine has probably more methyl donors than about any nutrient out there. And so it really helps the body. And what we're saying public by methyl donors is things that just help bind in the body to help things become organic or life giving. If in the body, if they're not methylated, then they actually cause problem. And some people have heard like the MTHFR gene is where they do the test and they're not able to take in certain B vitamins and that because if they're not whole food or methylated, the body can't utilize them because you need that methyl group. And so all the vitamins we ever make are methylated because they're organic. Just think about sticking with the laws of nature, and that's what methylation is.
Love that. Way to break that down and make it simple for all of us. Thank you.
Mhm.
I'm looking at the top hour. I know we got to probably wrap things up, and I have some lightning round questions that I want to ask you. But before I do, I'm just curious, any exciting projects that you're working on right now?
Great
I know
question.
that's probably an understatement, but
Yeah, no,
that could be a whole
absolutely.
other podcast, huh?
Yeah, we could probably go there, but just quickly, the thing is that we've learned so much from the pandemic. This was a huge time for us to do research and like what's going on, how's the body reacting to stress, people being locked up, what are these viruses doing to the body? And so we are doing a lot of research where we're gathering the data and to say, man, what are the common denominators? What can we do as a people, like just overall in the world to improve our health, to protect us from things like this again in the future? And I'll give you the insight into one area that we haven't talked about that is huge, that we see is critical for people to focus on, and it's called nitric oxide.
Ooh,
We've learned that people that have high levels of nitric oxide in their body are able to withstand the stress, withstand the viruses that are out there. It's actually one of the major treatments for the viruses that are going around. And what do we mean by nitric oxide? Nitric oxide is a chemical in the body that keeps the blood vessels flexible, that allows blood flow. A lot of the problems people are having is because blood's clumping and they're having heart attacks or strokes because of the blood sludge. The nitric oxide allows the flexibility to keep our blood pressure, at a right state. And the two things that increase nitric oxide are nitrate-rich foods like beets, arugula. Arugula is number one, things like that, and the amino acid arginine. So nitrate-rich foods and arginine help boost nitric oxide in the body. And that's right now, that data and that information we're big on. We're going down that road, presenting a lot of stuff to our doctors across the nation. We train thousands of doctors how to do things holistically. And for the public, man, eat more arugula, drink more beet juice, eat more beets, take arginine. There's some nitrate supplements, food nitrate that you can take, and just keep that nitric oxide up. You keep that nitric oxide up, you're going to be able to withstand a lot of the things that are coming down the pike that we know is coming and
yeah.
that we want to protect the body from.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so happy that you highlighted that. That's great. There's a great doctor, Dr. Nathan Barry. I don't, or no, I'm sorry, I always say that wrong. Dr. Nathan Bryan, who's a NO nitric oxide expert. I don't know if you've connected with him, but he is he's like he said pretty much the same thing that you're saying. I love that. So that's great, and I think no one's talking about it. So I'm glad that you're bringing light to this subject because it's huge.
Thank you. Absolutely. And people can do it on their own. It's like, oh, they just want to sell supplement. No, don't buy the supplement. The supplements, if you choose to not eat enough arugula and drink beet juice and do all that stuff, then yeah, we got you covered. But eat the foods, people.
Yeah, yeah, awesome stuff. Before I jump into those lightning round questions, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you wish I had?
No, man, I really love this. Most people don't go into the holistic side of this. And for your listeners, it's refreshing to see. Usually I'm spending a lot of my time trying to get people to understand these principles that you need to obey the laws of nature and you need to be holistic. And the fact that that's your foundation is so refreshing. And so thanks for doing this and putting this information out.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Appreciate you. All right, let's jump into some lightning round questions and we'll wrap it up. I'm curious, what are some choices or a choice that you made that you think made you who you are today?
Wow, great question. I think for me, it was to set an unwavering vision, but allow myself to take whatever pathway that came to me to accomplish it. In other words, don't get committed to the path, get committed to the end goal.
Mm.
What's funny is I had set a goal as a little kid to be in the NBA. I had a slight height problem and this thing called coordination, so I never made it. But that was my goal, and I wrote that down as a kid. I had a picture of an athlete at the time, and just that was this goal. And I always worked personally to be in the best shape that I could, but I kept that goal. And then the day when the NBA came to me, I didn't go to them. They came to me and said, "Hey, we want you to be the first nutritionist in the NBA and then to win the world championships." I'm like, holy cow. I look back and say the power of vision, the power of your goal. So be careful what you think about and you wish and you ask for, but also be deliberate in it. And that would be my recommendation. Be deliberate on what you want. Do you want to be the ultimate husband for your family or wife for your family? Do you want to have the most energy? Do you want to, get so much money or be just a good soul? Whatever it is that you're wanting, write that down, envision it, even attach a picture to it if you can. Be committed to it no matter what, but be open on how to get there. Let the universe and realize that the creator knows better than you on how to get there.
Yeah, that it's so funny you brought that up because I was thinking when you were telling the story and you were talking about how you, as a kid, wanting to be, you were always into athletics and wanting to be that, but it didn't happen. I was thinking, man, but you kind of reverse engineered it. That never left you because you actually did get into it, the NBA. You just did it a different way, and
Different
so
way.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Douglas, like you're just such a force, a powerful force in the health and wellness world. I'm curious who inspires you, or is there anybody that you follow that?
Yeah, great question. I think it's critical that we all have mentors and coaches our whole life. Is super critical. And the more that I work with these high level CEOs and people that are coaches to thousands, right? Your David Meltzers and your Russell Brunsons, all those people, they have hundreds of thousands of people that they coach and people that pay them hundreds of $1,000s a year to coach them. But each of those people have coaches and each of them have mentors. With Michael Jordan in the NBA, I remember when he came to Phoenix, he had his own nutrition, his own strength coach on top of the teams. And as shooting coach, I'm like, can't you teach a shooting coach how to shoot? He says, yeah, but he keeps me in line, and
Yeah.
so yeah, I do. And my original mentors, most of them have passed away now, so I've had to get new ones. But my original mentors, the world's leading authority in probiotics and in nutrition and supplementation, Harvey Ashmead's and and working with the Shahanis and all these were my originals. And so now I've had to change. So every year I'll pick a new coach and I'll hire a new coach to work with and to be able to help me. So whether it's a Deepak Chopra, who I'm a big fan of, some of these people are a little bit older to the crowd maybe listening. A lot of those are my mentors and those people that said, look, um, it's important to have your health, and Western medicine is not the answer. Western medicine are great at keeping people alive and to fix if you're broken or bleeding, but they're terrible at creating optimal health. And so most of my mentors and coaches are from that same genre of like, hey, let's get back to what the body needs to do to reach optimal health.
Amen, brother. I am in alignment with that. I always say like the body knows how to heal, it just needs the right input. And you said it very similar. So yeah, couldn't agree more. I'm a big reader. I don't know if you can tell behind me, but are there any books that stand out for you, or there's like a top 1 to 3 books that maybe had a huge impact on your life and you would recommend other people read?
Very great. Thank you for asking. Absolutely. There's a book called Enzyme Nutrition by Dr. Edward Howe. I highly recommend to people going back to the number one, thing to take for as supplements are concerned. Some of the new books, I'm a huge fan of Atomic Habits. I think that's one of the best books out there to help create habits. A little bit older than that, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. I think those are your couple of top mindset books that are somewhat new. The Compound Effect and Atomic Habits. The OG, obviously, is Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. So that's the mindset part of it. On the nutrition, enzyme nutrition is big. I'm a big fan of a book called The Blue Zones on nutrition. That's the healthiest people in the world. And I know there's some controversy from it, but we checked the
Yeah.
data on it. And it's actually really, the data is true. Just eat healthy, obey the laws of nature, move, and you're going to live the longest and the healthiest in those areas. And as far as exercise is concerned, trying to give you a little bit of each one, right?
Yeah, I
Mindset,
love this. This is awesome.
um, on the exercise side, really, it's a little bit tougher. I think that I just go more to the journals on exercise. I'd recommend people to type in exercise and longevity, exercise and disease prevention, and type it into your URL and write the word citation, CITATION afterwards, and it'll bring up studies showing why exercise is critical. And then you can be led to, where to go of what type of exercise you need. But I think those are probably your main books that will really get people started down the right journey.
Yeah, those are all wonderful. All right, last two questions. We'll wrap it up. Are there any rituals or hacks or practices that you do on a regular basis or daily basis?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the hacks or that we have a program we call 63 for me, which is just daily habits that you should follow. And I'll just try to give you a couple of them. They're maybe off the beaten path, but one of them is grounding. I'm a big fan of grounding. The earth has a frequency, and your cells have a frequency that they vibrate at. And if you can get those two together, the research, actual data now on this, it's not one of those things that just weird people do. The data shows that if you can ground, which means your feet on the earth for at least 6 minutes a day, that you're able to then get more balanced, your cortisol levels get back in check. And so I'm a big fan of doing that on the daily. The gallon of water a day, critical. And then obviously it comes down to consistency. What time you wake up, what time you go to bed. Those are probably the daily absolutes besides the reading that you mentioned.
Yeah, love that. Last but not least, Douglas D. Grant from Optimal Healthy Systems. Where can people find you, connect with you, and learn more about you?
Optimalhealthsystems.com is a great place to look at our company. The program that I do to coach people around the nation, we have limited spots that I work with people. You can go to theformulator.com. So THE formulator.com to look at those programs. If people are like, well, I want to do everything. I want, do all the blood work and the nutrition and set up programs like we do with the CEOs and the athletes. That's available for people. But for the most part, optimalhealthsystems.com. I write a blog every week on there. Just go to the blog. It's free. Just keep people updated on the latest advances of nutrition, what's going on in the research to kind of help them out. And so most of the information is just free, and you can take it, enjoy it, or take advantage of our services to help you reach optimal health.
Amazing. Love that, brother. Thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate you.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.